Outdoors here with First Response Fieldcraft. Finally getting around to making that part 2 on lever action guns. Figured I'd show you some different lever guns that weren't in the last video. Talk about some advantages, disadvantages, and setups of those. So first things first, what I got in front of me here is a Browning BLR. This particular one's in 30-06. It's the lightweight 81 model, so as the name would suggest, it's pretty lightweight, it's handy, and it's set up with a Vortex Crossfire 2 1-4 variable power optic, pretty low power, which is what I like, and it's got a lever wrap on it. So other than that, that's how the gun's set up. Still wearing the iron sights. These rings are actually from Browning, made for the BLR, and they're a low mount, so it's nice and close to the receiver. So this particular lever action, if you're only interested in having one rifle that does just about everything, I would consider going with the BLR, especially in 30-06 or 308. So this one's set up in 30-06. If you're only going to get one rifle for hunting just about everything, or just your one rifle, I would suggest this particular one in 30-06 or 308. Good all-around calibers. You can do just about everything with them. You can get light varmint loads all the way up to pretty stout loads for moose or whatever. This is my my big game gun, I guess, for moose and bear and the like. And personally, I'm not a big bolt action guy. I prefer lever guns, and this particular one's pretty accurate, just the way it's designed as far as lever guns go. So this is kind of my go-to if I ever get more into some of the backpack hunting and stuff, or some destination hunts. Probably just bring this gun with me. Nothing wrong with 30-06. I know there's a lot of new calibers out there that are all, the bee's knees and the new hotness or whatever, but 30-06 is a good caliber. I mean, this rifle, as it's set up right now, I'm probably good out to 300 yards with it, and I am not going to find myself in a scenario where I'm going to shoot further than that. I realistically am probably not going to shoot past 150. Around here, I'm probably not shooting past 75, where I'm at. But in a hunting scenario, out to 300 yards is about all I care about. So different things for different people, but the style that I hunt and the way I do things, 30-06 is plenty. I don't need anything that's flatter shooting. But some advantages to the BLR is it's magazine fed. So as opposed to the other lever guns we've talked about that all have a tube magazine, these actually have detachable box magazines, like some of your more modern rifles, which makes you able to use Spitzer pointed rounds instead of flat nose. So gives you a little bit extra range, a little better accuracy, and a little more versatility out of that. Another neat feature of this is the half cock feature. The hammer actually folds forward, so it can't accidentally be knocked into the firing pin or anything. So that's kind of a neat feature. One unique thing to the Brownings is when you cycle a lever, the whole trigger mechanism drops down and cycles with it. You can see the bolt is very reminiscent of an AR with like multiple locking lugs and stuff, so that's pretty cool. But if you guys have ever shot a Browning, you'll know that they're extremely smooth, cycle really well, and they're just all-around good guns. I mean, fast shooting, reliable, and good looking, and nice handling. So that's my setup for the 30-06 and for the BLR. All right. Last video we talked about the Winchester 94 and the Winchester 92. This particular lever action that's in front of me is mostly a range gun for me. It's a fun gun, but it's probably my favorite lever gun. So I just wanted to touch on it a little bit because it's pretty important action in the world of lever guns here, and it's just a really good rifle. So this particular one is a Cimarron 1873. Not sure of the exact model, but it's like their standard cowboy action short rifle. It's 20-inch octagonal barrel, round full length magazine tube, end cap handguards, color case hardened receiver, and straight stock crescent butt plate. So pretty standard 1873. So this particular rifle is based off of the Winchester 1873, which, as many of you probably know from watching westerns and stuff, it's kind of like the iconic rifle of that period. Pretty unique gun as far as the world of lever actions are concerned. This one's got a toggle link action. So there's basically these two toggles in here. When you work the lever down like that, there's actually toggles that compress and move like that. And you have a lifter here made out of brass that picks your shells up into the chamber to be fed. But anyway, point being, it's a extremely fast action. There's not a lot of lever actions that are quicker than this. You know, the 66 and the 73s are very, very fast cycling guns, very fast shooting. There's people that can shoot these guns probably as fast as you can shoot a semi-auto. You know, if you watch some cowboy action shooting and guys with you know, some tuning kits in them and whatnot. But this particular one is just a stock 1873. This one's in 45 Colt. So I really like 45 Colt. It's a great cartridge. However, if you're going to get a rifle in 45 Colt for you know, homestead stuff or hunting or defense from, you know, people, bears, whatever, and it's going to be your one rifle that you're going to have around, I would probably suggest getting an 1892 or an 1894 Marlin or a Henry rather than a 73, because the one downside of the toggle link action is it is not near as strong as the 92 with the dual locking lugs or some of the more modern guns. So if you're going to be shooting really high pressure 45 Colt like bear loads or buffalo bore stuff like that, I probably wouldn't do it out of this rifle. I would probably save that for your 92s or your modern guns. But I shoot pretty much cowboy action loads out of this, cast lead loads, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's just accurate, fast cycling gun. So if you don't have an 1873, definitely worth getting one if you have a little bit of disposable income. I probably wouldn't get it as my only rifle, but it's certainly a capable, fun rifle. I mean, very fast, easy to shoot, easy to handle, and just a good all-around gun. So couple things unique to the 1873s. They all have this sliding dust cover right here. When you rack it, dust cover stays out of the way. So when I'm carrying it around, I usually push it forward. The other thing to know is the lever actually has this little lock right here that you can rotate and lock it shut. So if you're carrying this in an ATV or a saddle or something like that, and you don't want the action coming open or coming out of battery or whatever, it's always a good idea to just flip that little lever lock on there. But yep, so that's the 1873. One advantage to these is there are a lot of aftermarket parts from the cowboy action industry. So all right, so last video talked a little bit about the Henrys, talked a little bit about the tube fed guns, but I didn't have one here with me at the house. So since I got my 4570 here back to the house from where it was at, so This particular rifle is a Henry brass receiver um, H010 is the model number. Basically, it's a big boy in 4570. This is one of the older ones before they started putting side loading gates on all their guns. Now, pretty sure they all come with side loading gates. This one's just a tube fed rifle, which is fine for me for hunting stuff. For what I'm going to use it for. If this was going to be a defensive rifle for me, or like something I was carrying because I was worried about bears, maybe I'd rather have the side loading gate just so I can top the rifle off. But um, for moose or black bear, it's more than adequate with just the tube mag. So um, this particular version has the 22-inch octagonal barrel, and I have a Skinner peep sight on it, and again, butt cuff, lever wrap. Some unique things about the Henrys: they actually don't have a half cock feature. However, it's still safe to carry these guns with the hammer down, because the way the hammer is designed, there's a slit in it that goes around the firing pin, and they basically have like a transfer bar safety. I'm not 100% sure in the inner workings of how it works, but they have a firing pin disconnect, so you can carry it with the hammer down on a round in the chamber, and it's perfectly safe, which is how I carry it in the woods when I hunt with this. So this particular Henry has kind of an enlarged loop here, so you can use it with gloves. Sling swivels included from the factory, which is pretty neat. And yeah, one thing about the Henrys, I've had a few of them at this point, and they're very, very smooth cycling guns. They are very fast to shoot, and they're very smooth. Cosmetically, they're definitely good looking guns, but they're my least favorite out of the Marlins, Rossies, Winchesters. They do a very good job with the fit and finish. Henry makes an outstanding product, but they're not traditional. They're a modern lever action. They're based on Henry's own proprietary designs. They're not necessarily made to like replicate an old Winchester design or anything like that. So that's really the only reason I prefer the Marlins from and the Winchesters. But from a functional standpoint, Henry makes a very, very good gun. And again, I like my father prefers Henrys. He thinks they're very good looking guns. So that's just personal preference. But they're very robust. They cycle very fast. They're very smooth. If you've ever shot a Henry lever action, you know that they're very just smooth cycling. So 4570, why? I really like 4570. It's a great straight wall cartridge. If you live in a straight wall cartridge only state, certainly a viable option depending on your rules. I know some states don't allow it, but very hard hitting, large caliber round. Like I said, pretty good for moose and bear. Little on the heavy side for whitetail, but you can certainly do it. I mean, it works. There's really no downside to shooting them with 4570, but just know if you shoot a like small doe or something, yeah, you're probably going to tear up quite a bit of meat. But you can get some pretty stout 4570 rounds to do just about everything you need to do with it, right down to pretty light like cowboy action cast loads that aren't too bad. The main disadvantage to 4570 today, I'd say, is the price. I don't even have ammo for this gun right now because I shot it all and I can't replace it. Well, I could replace it, but it's expensive. So for everything I'm using my 4570 for right now, I'm just using my 30-06 because I have it on hand and it's cheaper. But 4570 is a great cartridge. It's been around for a long time. It was originally in the Springfield trapdoors back in the 1800s, but just again another very versatile, good round. And if you can afford it or you're willing to spend the money on ammo to practice, it's certainly a good cartridge. But for me, the cost is pretty prohibitive. on doing any serious work with the 4570. You know, a lot of guys use it as a backup gun for bear or whatever, in Alaska or out west, and you know, it's pretty popular today. It seems like in the lever guns, everybody's trying to buy them up, but um, for me, the cost ammo is a big deal. That's one downside of lever actions. I mean, regardless of the caliber you go with, it's more pricey than say like 9mm or something. Whether it's 45 Colt or 44 mag or even 30-30, everything is more expensive than it should be. But 4570 is like grossly to that extent. So one thing to know. One of my Henrys had issues cycling the Levolution ammunition, and I contacted Henry about it, and they actually said they don't recommend you use Levolution in any of their guns. So, something to keep in mind. But anyway, so I showed you on the last video, the way this loads and unloads is through the tube here. Basically, you just twist this little knob. You can pull this up and drop your rounds in. You can pull it out if you want. Drop your rounds in through here. If you want to unload it, you can pull this out and just dump your rounds out. But so again, pretty much all the Henrys are being made with side loading gates now as well, but they still retain this tube feature. And in most hunting scenarios, I really don't think it's that much of a disadvantage to not have the side gate. You know, again, in a dangerous game context or something, maybe I'd want the side gate to top off, but realistically, if you got 5 rounds of 4570 on board, you're probably in pretty good shape for most things. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about the Henry, definitely let me know. Or 4570. I got a Marlin guide gun off-site too, so I can certainly compare the two of these, and we can discuss that a little bit. But let me know if you got anything on that. So, last video we talked about Marlins, in particular the 336. This is another JM Marlin I have that I just want to go over a little bit and show you kind of what you're able to do with this platform and why I really like the Marlins. All these parts are available for the Henrys now too, especially with them making the X models, and you know, companies like Ranger Point Precision and all that have been around for a long time at this point. I built this rifle out probably, oh man, like 5 years ago now, so there's more updated parts available for things, but I'll just go ahead and show you kind of some tips and tricks on how to slick up these Marlins. So this particular one, like I said, it's a JM Marlin. It's a 336. It's in 30-30. Pretty standard 336. Nothing crazy. 20-inch barrel. Full-length magazine tube. Pistol grip stock. So some things I did to make this rifle a little more shootable and usable to me. There's nothing wrong with a stock Marlin 336. They're fantastic guns. They work well out of the box. However, as you saw in my last video, sometimes the actions can be a little tricky, which I've since rectified on that Marlin. I've slicked the action up quite a bit, and it cycles really well now. But just by their design, sometimes the lever is not necessarily as smooth. It's a little stagier than, say, a Henry or some of the other options in the market. But couple things that I've done to work on this gun. For one, just cleaning it and polishing the bolt and the lever and all the parts that make metal-to-metal contact makes a big difference. Makes the gun cycle quite a bit better. I also put a metal follower in the magazine tube. It's self-cleaning, so compared to the plastic one, it hangs up less in the tube, and it feeds a little smoother. I do the same thing with my pump-action shotguns. As far as the lever itself is concerned, so I've actually replaced this lever with the Ranger Point Precision medium loop lever. I like the shape a little better than the standard lever from Marlin. I can get a gloved hand in there. But the downside of the large loop levers is they're actually a little slower to cycle, and there's all that space in there where when you're moving it, it's less of one fluid motion when you're running a lever because your hand has to make contact with the lever through all that space, and you have to cycle the lever. So it doesn't throw as smooth as having a small lever. So the medium loop lever, I think, is my favorite lever shape and size, where it's really the best of both worlds, and it's a very fast lever to cycle, and it's comfortable to shoot. The other thing, if you shot a lot of Marlins, you know they have a lot of flop in the lever side to side. So I have shims installed under the screw from Ranger Point Precision that eliminate a lot of that lever slop. So you're not necessarily torquing the lever one way or the other. And it just allows you to cycle the rifle much faster. So the other thing I have on here, this is a loading gate spring from Ranger Point Precision. A couple advantages to this one. You'll know if you've shot a lot of Marlins, these can be really stiff and they can be sharp, and there's a lot of burrs on them. They'll cut your fingers up and they don't necessarily cycle smooth. These are very, very easy to work with. So topping the gun off, loading is very quick compared to how it was previously, and then you can push it down, and like a shotgun with the detent there, you can remove your rounds through the loading gate, which is a nice feature that I really like. I also have a enlarged takedown screw on here. It's nice because you don't need a tool to take the lever and the bolt out. You can just unscrew it and slide everything out. Downside is I carry my rifles like this when I hunt, and it's a little big, so it kind of digs into your finger a little bit and changes the way the rifle carries somewhat. But once you get used to it, it's not a big deal. But something to note, considering trying the one from Wild West Gunworks on my other Marlin in the last video and see if I like that any better. Or I may just leave the screw, because if I'm cleaning it, it's really not a big deal to use a screwdriver. But, you know, something to keep in mind. So the sights on here, I've replaced the buckhorns, and I had a scope on this thing with Ranger Point Precision, their cloverleaf sight, and this one is the dovetail model. I'm sorry, not dovetail. The aperture is a Ranger Point Precision cloverleaf sight. So it's got 2 fiber optic vials on the side of the peep, and it's got these protective ears that just aesthetically look nice. And the front sight is a red fiber optic. So basically, they're peep sights and fiber optic combined. And it's very, very fast. It's almost like having a red dot on your rifle. They're my favorite lever gun sights I've used so far. And I really like Skinners. I really like XS sights. But these peeps are really, really awesome. And they're very easy to zero because they have little Allen key slots in them where you can just adjust everything. So then I put gold barrel bands on here just to match the brass parts on the gun for aesthetics. But and then the other thing I've added is the Grove Tech sling mount and a sling stud in the rear under the butt cuff. So I don't carry a sling on my guns until I have an animal down, and then I pull the sling out of my pack and put it on. I just found in hunting scenarios, if you're packing a sling, your gun's going to be slung, and it's not going to be in your hand when you jump something and you need it. So I prefer to just carry my guns like this. The Marlin 336 is a great gun, pretty well balanced, but just figured I'd show you guys that so you had an idea of kind of what's possible for some different parts and stuff that you can put on your old Marlin to make it a little more functional. And you already saw the other one with the red dot and scope rail and whatnot on there. So, well, guys, I appreciate you sticking with me. Just figured I'd go over a few other lever actions that I didn't have available at the time we were doing that video previously, and talk about a couple different calibers we had and some different ideas for setups for your lever guns. So you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments or reach out to me on Instagram and give me a shout. But take it easy.